This is my Skeletal Sniper build for Path of Exile 2. We are using the Skeletal Snipers as our main source of damage for both single target and AoE, and we are using the combination of Eldritch Battery and Mind over Matter for our defensive layer. Eldritch Battery makes it so all of our energy shield is converted to mana, and with Mind over Matter, all damage we take is taken from mana before life. So we can use this to build up a pretty large mana pool to protect our life. And we are using mana recoup with this build and some additional sources to recoup most of the damage we take as mana. Currently I recoup 76% of all damage I take as mana. In addition to this, we are skilling some mana regeneration nodes on the tree to have some passive regen against damage over time effects and for our mana cost for Gas Arrow because it's quite high. In addition to this, we are using Block as another defensive layer. And with this version, I'm sitting at 68% block at the moment. For the passive tree, it's pretty much a few block nodes, a few minion clusters, and mana, regen, and recoup. For our gear, we are primarily looking for mana and energy shield on most of our pieces, and fill the rest with resistances and intelligence. On our weapon, we want plus level of minion gems and increased spirit as the main two mods. Mods like allies in your presence deal increased damage and increased attack speed is also really good. On our helmet, we want to focus on plus level of all minion skills. Plus 2 can get quite expensive if you also have other high stats. So at the start, plus 1 is also fine. The same with the amulet. Plus 3 can get quite expensive, so you can start with plus 1 or plus 2 and work your way up. On our shield, we mainly want to focus on a very high block chance, so we can reach nearly block cap with the setup. The other slots are basically to fill resistances and attributes as needed. Movement speed and boost is always great. And on our body armor we want a really high energy pool because this directly translates into more mana. For our skills, the Skeletal Warriors are basically our debuffers. They are used with Last Gasp so they don't die instantly, Maim to slow the enemies, and Culling Strike to cull them. Our Infernal Hellhound is also debuffing. I'm using it with Splinter and Demolisher to strip away enemy armor. I'm using Fire Exposure and Strip Away to have a 26% fire exposure on enemies at all times, and Magnified Effect to increase the Ignite aura. Our Skeletal Snipers are using Scattershot, Feeding Frenzy, Martial Tempo, Heft and Fire Infusion. I tried a lot of combinations of skills, but this one I felt most comfortable with as an all-rounder build, because Scattershot is really nice for clearing. You lose a bit of damage on single target, but since you can triple the gas arrows, this also deals a really nice amount of single target damage. For Raging Spirits, I'm just using Infernal Legion as an additional source of Ignite, and Clarity for my mana regen. On the Storm Mages, I'm pretty much taking all of the shock nodes, so this can spread shocks around. This increases the shock magnitude, so we have a 35% shock on bosses. This makes it so shocks never expire on ignited enemies, and our Hellhound permanently ignites enemies, and our Raging Spirits can also ignite enemies. So we have this up most of the time, and this is just to have a more shock chance. On Flammability, I'm using Focused Curse, so it curses faster, Heightened Curse for more of Curse effect, and Hex Bloom, so if you kill a cursed enemy it spreads around. This is really beneficial in content like Ritual. I'm using Clerics with Ingenuity for more cooldown reduction, and Meat Shield so they don't die. Flame Wall with Fortress to have a bit more coverage, and Arcane Tempo so I don't need to cast that long. The Flame Wall adds additional fire damage to projectiles that pass through, so every sniper that shoots through this wall gets flat added fire damage on top of it. And I'm using Pain Offering for increased damage, with Expanse for more AoE, Font of Rage to generate rage, Dance Macabre to sacrifice 2 minions, but it has increased effect, and Persistence so it lasts longer. For general gameplay, I'm just running around into a pack of enemies, using Pain Offering, and the skeletons now are pretty much strong enough to clear on their own. If you need a bit more single target as for rares or bosses, you can use Flammability to curse them, and then just spam gas arrows on top of them. The gas arrows explode when they come into contact with an ignited enemy, so your Hellhound should automatically ignite them and they explode. The biggest downside for Skeletal Snipers is that, as all minions, they get stuck in doorways, or if they attack minions, but the problem is, because they have such a large range, they still keep attacking single enemies, and if you run away, they despawn much more frequently than other minions. There are kinda two ways around this. In the options, under input, there is a button called... you find it, Direct Minions. You can use this to order them around. So when you are running, instead of them shooting an enemy, you can just spam the direct button to let them run with you, so they don't despawn. Or you simply let them attack and let them despawn on purpose, run into the next enemy pack, and spawn them in the middle of the enemies, so they can shoot again. For doorways, there's also a little trick. If they get stuck, let me try to replicate this. Now they are stuck, you can use this direct button to simply click somewhere on the map and then directly into the doorway again. And quite a few times this helps to unstuck them. It's still a bit tedious, but at least this way you don't have to despawn them. This was my quick guide for my sniper build. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments.